Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our study session for this evening. So, if you are live with us on YouTube, feel free to say hello in the comments so I will know who is with us today. Also, feel free to share this live broadcast with anyone that you know that is currently preparing for the biology and the HSB examinations. And we're gonna get going. All right. So I'm so excited to host this session today. The aim is to have the students prepared for at least a section. The exam, I want to have the dates clearly. I don't have my planner around me, but the exam is scheduled for next month. So hopefully we may be able to do another sections revision at some point before the examination. Let's cross the fingers, but I'm not sure, right? And normally I offer a service of past papers. I'm still thinking tentatively. I'm thinking next Saturday morning, but I'm not sure. So I normally offer a past paper marathon as well, a full past paper marathon for all three sections, but I'm not sure just yet. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Look out on our social media platforms, whether Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, for any information pertaining to this. All right. So even as persons are coming in, just say hello, right? And share the YouTube link with somebody. Share to your Facebook. Share it any way you want to share it. This is our gift to you this evening. All right. So for HSB and biology, there are some crossing sections and topics, and luckily, hi Amelia. Luckily, for HSB and biology, section C is very same, right? There may be a little differences, but the concepts are the same. So I thought it best to start with this topic or this section because both persons or both groups of persons can benefit. All right. So I have some HSB students and also some biology students. So I found it fit to do this section today. All right. So for biology, you have three sections, A, B, and C, right? For HSB, you have HSB exams have, I think it's 5 sections, all right? A, B, C, D, and E, right? But for both subject areas, section C is reoccurring, all right? So section C is genetics, and also hereditary, right? So we're going to look at this concept. It's not a very long section. All right. So I'm going to use this syllabus as a guide. I'm going to show you the both syllabi, both biology and HSB. So for those students that are studying, listen, your syllabus at this stage is your best friend. All right. So I'm going to take myself off to try to give you a greater screen coverage. I don't think it could get bigger than this. I was hoping that it could have, but you could also put this up on your device, right? I thought that I could have seen it in a bigger way. All right. You can also pull it up on your device as well. So just Google search it if you don't have it. Biology syllabus, HSB syllabus. All right. So section C is the shortest section in both course areas. So for biology, it is the shortest. For HSB, it is also very short. All right. So you feel free to pull it up on your own because I don't think that this is very clear. All right. So feel free to pull it up on your end. All right. So feel free to pull it up on your end. Feel free to pull it up on your end. Okay, I think it's better, but let me know if you all have seen it better. All right, so let me know if you all have seen it better. All right. So let me just go to YouTube on my phone so I can see your comments. All right. So I expect even as you join the study session today that you have your notebook, you have some sort of a writing material. Feel free to grab along your study guide. Right. And as I say to my students, always try to always rid yourself of any distractions. That's just zoning. Today's session, tentatively, I don't expect to be here very long, but we will take as long as the time permits for us to get through this syllabus. All right. So let me just pull this video up. Okay. All right. So it isn't that clear on your end. So I suggest that you pull this up on your device as well, your phone or your laptop, tablet, anything. All right. So as you come in, we're going to just discuss the main aspects of this syllabus. All right. So even as you come in, you say hello so I could big you all up. All right. So for the context of continuity and variation, section C of the biology syllabus, they want you to discuss key terms and concepts such as what is that, like species, right? They want you to be able to look at genetic variation between species, right? We're going to look at the concept of what is a gene, right? What is DNA, chromosomes, alleles. So there are some key terms that you have to know for this examination. All right, you're going to understand the role of genes in heredity. You're going to determine how traits are altered, right, by either asexual and sexual means. We're going to look at natural selection, mutations, right? How does that affect organisms? And we're going to look at biological evolution and how it can be used as well in healthcare, food security, food technology, forensics, and that good stuff. And we're going to also talk about genetic engineering. I don't think I'm going to go through it in that specific order, but how we flow, we flow. So there's a hint for you all who are preparing. Ensure you know your definitions and your key terms, right? Ensure you know your definitions and your key terms. Ensure to know your definitions and your key terms. So there are some key terms and definitions you have to note when you are doing these studying for these examinations. All right. So I want you to ensure that you have a list of your key terms that is necessary for you to note. Right? You should be able to define what is DNA, right? What is chromosomes? You could take a list of these things, right? What is a gene? What is an allele? Right? So ensure you have these key definitions, because sometimes in the exam, they basically could just ask you a definition, as simple as it may sound. They could ask you, what is an allele? Right? What is a gene? What is the difference between a gene and an allele? All right? So you are instructed to have a definition list. I'm going to give you a few key terms, and I expect you to go and build on the information given, right? So you're going to go through and build on these definitions. So what is a gene? What is an allele? All right? I want you to have a definition as to what is a chromosome, right? What is a chromosome? And feel free to ask me any questions as you see fit in the comments, all right? Feel free to ask me any question as you see fit, all right? You have to be able to draw and differentiate between the mitosis and the meiosis process, right? So you have to be able to draw And also, you have to be able to differentiate between mitosis and meiosis. Okay, so that's something that you need to do, right? So I suggest that you draw it in your study notes, right? Mitosis, meiosis, and the differences between the two, right? So if you're following me, just say yes in the comments. I know that you all are following me. All right, so mitosis, meiosis. All right, then you have to be able to tell me what are these two systems responsible for, and I'm going to go through them. What are they responsible for? So what is mitosis responsible for? What is meiosis responsible for? Right, in the body and the body systems. All right, if you're following me, just say yes. So you need to have definitions for DNA, alleles, right, genes, right? You have to be able to draw the mitosis process and the meiosis process and tell us the differences. All right? Tell us the differences between the two processes, right? And tell us why are each of them important. For example, meiosis, right, is used for the creation of our gametes. So gametes are our sex cells, right? So meiosis is used for the creation of our gametes, the sex cells, while mitosis is used for growth and for repair, right? So you have to be able to tell them what each of these systems are used for and why are they important, right? So I'm just going through and then we're going to break it down as we go along, right? You have to know key terms such as dominant traits. So if you're taking note, take a note of that. So I'm just going through the entire thing for key terms, and then we're going to go through section by section. All right, so if you're now joining in, hello, welcome to our study session. And one of the reasons I'm doing this session as well, I remember last year, I had a parent calling me because at school, they did not finish the syllabus, right? And because they didn't finish the syllabus, obviously the last section was partially left out. So I had her for, I believe, was two-hour sessions, one-on-one, where I went through all of these concepts. And after the exam dates, her mother would have reached out and said to me she got a grade 1 in the exam. And she was able to answer the questions from this section based on the study session. So these study sessions are very important. It works. All right, but you have to go and put in the work, because when I gave her the list of key terms, she went home, worked on it. So by the next session, she came back with her definitions. All right, so you have to also do the work as well. All right, so the key terms I'm giving you: dominant traits, recessive traits, right? Dominant traits, recessive traits, all right? Codominance, so dominant trait, recessive trait. You need to have a definition for these things that I'm calling out. Codominance, right? Genotype, 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 right? Phenotype, so genotype, phenotype, genotype, genotype. And if you need me to repeat anything, use the comments, ask me. So genotype, phenotype, all right? Codominance, 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 right? Homozygous, homozygous, heterozygous. So most times I have a student and he says to me, Miss, I just read my notes. But at this stage of studying, the best thing for you to do is to actually make these things into a list, right? So so if you have a notebook and you have back pages still remaining, start some study notes in point form. So write out all of these definitions. So when you are doing your revision for this section, section C of the syllabus, you have all of these points and ready to go. All right? You have all of these things ready to go. So when you see a question, you could just look to your section C study notes and it's all there. Right? Also have a definition for the term inheritance. So what is inheritance? All right. What is inheritance? Okay, so if you're following me, just say yes in the comments. If you need me to repeat anything, just ask me to repeat. All right. All right. If you're following, just say yes in the comments. If you need me to repeat anything, just let me know. All right. And you also have to have definitions for the two types of variation. So you need definitions for continuous variation and discontinuous variation. So continuous variation and discontinuous variation. Okay, persons are saying yes. Right? So you need to have a definition for continuous variation and discontinuous variation. Right? So what are those things? We're going to discuss all of it, so don't worry. But you need to have those definitions and learn them. All right? So continuous variation, discontinuous variation. What are these concepts? And with all the things that you're having definitions for, I also want you to have examples. Be able to give an example. So if they ask you, for example, what is an allele? You could tell them that an allele is two different forms of the same gene, right? For example, eye color, right? So eye color, the two alleles we could give is brown eyes, blue eyes. So an allele is two different forms of the same gene, right? So we have brown eyes, blue eyes, right? So you have to be able to give an example, right? Okay, let's continue. I'm just giving, for those that are now coming in, I'm giving a definition list or a glossary list of key terms that you have to know, because they can bring those type of questions to you. Give two of these words. They can give you two words and ask you to give them definitions with examples. All right. Okay, the next one is species. What is a species? All right. What is a species? Define the term species. Right? What is a species? All right. Another key term that you should have is speciation. So I'm going to spell it out for anybody who wants me to spell it out for them. So S-P-E-C-I-A-T-I-O-N. Speciation. Right? So what is speciation? Right? What is that? We're going to talk about it. So for those that are now coming in, we're going to talk about it, but I'm just giving you a glossary list or definition list of some of the key terms that you need to know for the examination. All right. So what is speciation? Also, what is a species? All right. Next key term. What is biological evolution? What is biological evolution? What is biological evolution? Right? So you have to know what that is. Right? So what is biological evolution? Right? So for those that are now coming in, I'm just giving a definition list. And I think I want all of you to follow us on Facebook and Instagram if you're there. So I will also pull a list together and I will drop it there so you could have the full list if you're now coming in, right? So follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Scholars Immaculate Academy, and I will post a list of the key terms that you should have. So if you came in late, you can always grab that. All right. And one more set of definitions. I want to note what is natural selection and artificial selection. So what is natural selection? What is artificial selection? If you're following me, just say yes. If you need me to repeat anything, let me know what you want me to repeat. So natural selection, artificial selection. What is natural selection? What is artificial selection? So natural selection, artificial selection. So if you're following me, just say yes. If you need me to repeat anything, ask me to repeat, right? So I'm looking at the comments. I'm waiting for a response. I will know if I have to repeat anything. So natural selection, artificial selection. Right, and we are pulling all of these things out of your syllabus. So I'm recommending strongly as you all do your revision, revise along with your syllabus, please. Please, please, please. CXC cannot bring anything that was not mentioned on your syllabus. So once you study with your syllabus, you are guaranteed to succeed, right? I remember passing chemistry by following the syllabus, right? I literally passed chemistry by following the syllabus. I went through each objective and I wrote my own notes. And that's why I passed chemistry. So that's a hint for anybody who is doing a subject area and you feel as though you don't have enough understanding. Grab a hold of your syllabus now and spend time going through every objective before your exam. Okay? All right, suppose I'm saying that they are following. I'm going to compile a list and drop it, but that would not be until like Monday. So look out for it Monday. So follow us on Facebook, on follow us on Instagram, and I will have a list of these key terms dropped there so you could grab a hold of it. Right? Good. So we have natural selection, artificial selection, and the last key term I want you to have there is genetic engineering, right? What is genetic engineering, right? So you're going to add that to your class. You're going to add that to your glossary list of things that you need to know, key terms and definitions that you need to know, right? So for those that are now coming in, feel free to drop it on your story, on your status. Tell somebody we're doing our study session for section C of the HSB and biology syllabus. All right. So feel free to drop it wherever you know students are going to be. All right. So this is our gift to you all during the study season. So let's start off at the top. All right. So I need you all to help me use the comments, and it's going to help you as well because you will know what you do, know what you don't know. Right. So let's start off. So what is genetics? So genetics basically is a study of how genetic information is passed along from parent to offspring. It's a study of how genes and traits are passed from parent to offspring, right? So by studying genetics, we understand why did we get this skin color? Why is my hair this length? You know, why am I tall? Why am I short? You know, why is my eyes blue? Why is my eyes brown? Right? So when you study genetics, we are able to even study how these processes happen on a microscopic level. So our genes, they are found in each cell. So if I take Let me get some names from the comments. Let me get some names from the comments. All right. So if I take Amelia's hair and I take it into the laboratory and I put it under the microscope, not the normal microscopes we have at school, but the high intensity type microscopes, right? An electron microscope, and we go deep into the cells, I will be able to extract genes, right? I will be able to see her chromosome. I want somebody to answer me. How many chromosomes do we have as humans? How many chromosomes do we have as humans? Anybody knows? How many chromosomes do we have as human beings? How many chromosomes? 46. Good. So we have 46 chromosomes as human beings, right? So in each cell within your body, you contain 46 chromosomes. So some people think it's just 46 chromosomes all together in your whole body. No. Each cell contains 46 chromosomes, right? So within every cell, we can extract DNA, right? From whatever cell. So you ever saw those detective movies where they just pull a strand of hair, put it in a napkin, and they take it and they say, we are able to detect who is this person that was on the crime scene. We can do all of that through genetics. All right. So we as human beings, we have DNA as our main form of genetic material. Who can tell me in the comments, what does DNA stand for? Right, I've seen this in a multiple choice before. I see 46, 46, 46. Great job. All right, so what does DNA stand for? I've seen this in a multiple choice before. Anybody could tell me what is the meaning of that shortened acronym? What does DNA stand for? I'm waiting for the answer in the comments. So this is an interactive study session. It's not me just talking and you just listening. So what does DNA stand for? The first person to say it, I'll begin you up on the comments. The first person to drop it in the comments, I'll begin you up today. Okay, so DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, right? So that's a big word. But once you break it up, you'll be able to spell it. So deoxyribonucleic acid. Let's say it together. Deoxyribonucleic acid. So DNA stands for, I can hear you all like a choir. Deoxyribonucleic acid. All right. Thank you all so much. All right. So I saw this as a multiple choice some years ago. Right. So you have to know these things. So DNA is a nucleic acid that contains all of our genetic information. So if I get one bit of your DNA, I could literally pull one strand of hair and know your entire genetic makeup, right? So you know those TV shows or those daytime shows like Maury and Jerry. I think you all are a little too young to know those shows, right? But you know, those women will go on and say, I'm here to tell Johnson that he's the father of my baby, right? And then Maury will say, okay, we're gonna do a DNA swab to see if you are the child father or not, right? So what they will normally do is take like a swab, and they will swab the cheek cells of the person, right? And then they go take that swab into the lab, and then they're able to test to see if the father's DNA has a matching based on the DNA lineup with the DNA of the child, right? And if it has like a 99.99% similarity, then they will say, yes, you are the child's father, right? So DNA is very important. So just by having the cheek cells of the baby, you can find the whole genetic structure. So they ask you to define DNA, you will tell them that DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic ribonucleic acid, and it's a protein, and it contains all the genetic information of an individual. All right. And as we said before, we have 46 chromosomes. Now, some people may make a mistake and say we have 23. And that 23 is actually 23 pairs. So don't mix up that, right? Let me know if you all know what is the name of the disorder or the disease when a person has one extra chromosome. Let me see if you all were studying, right? What is the name of the disease or the disorder when a person has one extra chromosome? And we actually rock the socks for this disorder. Down syndrome, correct? You all are paying attention, man. Down syndrome, right? So Down syndrome is actually a disorder when persons have an extra chromosome on the 21st position. Now, as we go along, I will show you a diagram called a karyotype diagram that shows you how the DNA is lined up into pairs. And when we have the 23 pairs, on the 21st location, this person has an extra chromosome. That's why we celebrate World Down Syndrome Day on the 21st of the 3rd month. So I know many of you may have rocked your socks on the 21st of March and they didn't know why that day, but just remember the 23rd of the 3rd, the 21st of the 3rd month, meaning 3 chromosomes in the 21st position or the 21st pair, right? Right, so let me just tell a person I'm in a session. Right, sorry about that, guys. Right, so we have our DNA, right? So we got that. So for those that are now coming in, welcome to our study session. We are studying section C of the HSB and the biology syllabus. It's kind of like the same, so we're doing it together, right? So we clear on that. So we have 46 chromosomes in our DNA structure. So the DNA is arranged in chromosome structures. So I'm going to go to the study guide so you're going to see it, but we're just going P terms, all right? So when we have our genes, they are lined up in pairs. So take a note of that. Our genes are lined up in 23 pairs, okay? So we have 23 pairs, okay? And out of that pair, we get 1/2 from our mother and 1/2 from our father, right? So for each component of the pair, one is from the father, one is from the mother, right? So let me know if we're clear on that. Repeat the Y, okay, no problem. So Y Down syndrome is celebrated on the 21st of the 3rd month. When we have, I don't think I could write on this screen, all right? But when we have our DNA lined up in pairs, we have 23 pairs, right? And each pair is given a position. So 23 positions we have in all, right? So we divide them into pairs. So you have position 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to 23 pairs, right? On the 21st pair, there's an extra chromosome attached to that pair, right? So in the 21st position, we would have normally had 2 chromosomes as a pair, 1 extra is added. So now we have 3 pieces of chromosome in the 21st position, right? So instead of 2, we have 3. Understand? We have 3 in the 21st position. So that's why World Down Syndrome Day is celebrated on the 21st of March. Okay? So I hope that's clear. Hope that's clear to everybody. All right? So that's why the person have an extra chromosome, and that's why we celebrate it on the 21st. So I hope that was clear. Okay, great. Right? So when we have our DNA in pairs, we get one part of the pair from our mother and we get another part from our father, right? So that's why we have 23 pairs, one part from mother, one part from father, right? So when we look at, say, let's think about pair number 1. It is not two different sets of genetic information, you know. Is one part from your mother, one part from your father, but they are both carrying the same information. Let me give you an example. Now, let's think about pair number 1. Let's imagine that on pair number 1, we have the gene that codes for our eyes, our eye shape, and our eye color, right? If you're following me, just drop the word eyes in the comments, right? So you're talking about eye color and eye shape. Now, within that pair, on this side, you have eye shape and eye color. On this side, you have eye shape and eye color, right? So let me know if you're following me, right? So you get one characteristic set from your mother, one from your father, right? So you may ask yourself, so how we just get like my eyes right now? My eyes shaped like my mother, right? I have full eyes like my mother, right? And you may say, but Miss, I get my daddy eyebrow, right? So basically, you have the trait within you from your mother and your father. It just means that one of them is showing up and one isn't, right? One is showing up and one isn't. So you may say, Miss, you know, my mother had nice, juicy hair, yeah, nice length. But all of a sudden, I born a nice, miss, I don't know where my head is up. Miss, my hair not growing. You know, miss, my hair short. But my mother hair long. Chances are, if you look at your father's side of the family, they may have short hair and you happen to walk in that gene of short hair, even though you are carrying the gene for long hair, right? So we have the same, good, that's it, dominant and recessive. So the one that is dominant will show up, and the one that is, oh, you all know the thing, the one that is recessive doesn't show up. But I want you to know that you have the gene for your mother and your father on the same part, and we call them alleles. So alleles are different forms of the same gene. All right. So for eye color, you may happen to have both of them carrying brown eyes, right? But then someone of them may carry blue eyes, right? So they may be carrying blue eyes, and that's why when you study genetics, we realize that sometimes society don't understand genetics, so they will cast shame. For example, you may have blue eyes, brown eyes, sorry, and your husband may have brown eyes, right? But you may be carrying a trait for blue eyes, right? And somewhere along the line, as genetics happen, you may meet a guy, right, that also carries the trait for blue eyes. Who knows, right? Because listen, a lot of us, as proud and as some people might say, I'm proud to be black, I'm proud to be white, I'm proud to be of Indian descent, I'm proud to be whatever. You may be carrying traits that you don't even know you're carrying, right? And then you happen to meet somebody who's carrying the blue eye trait as well, but maybe it is recessive. It may be the trait that is suppressed, right? And then when those two genes happen to meet, you have a child carrying blue eyes. Now, let me ask you all the question. I'm looking in the comments. What people gonna say? Your eyes brown, your husband eyes brown, or your wife eyes brown, or your child eye blue? I want you to tell me in the comments what people will say. I'm waiting to see those comments. What will people say? What will people say? I want to see the comments. So let me hear what you're telling me. Somebody say, oh, on child. Oh my God. Right? But it doesn't have to be. It just means that maybe you are carrying a recessive trait for blue eyes, and your husband and your wife may be carrying a recessive trait for blue eyes, and then the child happens to have blue eyes, right? Right? So he say, Miss, that is not yours, right? Right? But it doesn't have to be so. So that's why studying genetics is very important. All right? So we looked at a couple of the definitions already. We said chromosome is the structure in which DNA is arranged, right? We say that we have 23 pairs of 46 chromosomes, right? And there's a term, right, called ploidy that sometimes people don't define. So we know about haploid and diploid. So let's talk about those two terms, haploid and diploid. So when something is diploid, it carries two, so let's have with haploid first. So haploid, we normally say N, right? So haploid cells in humans carry 23 chromosomes. And when we say diploid, it means that you have 46 chromosomes, all right? So normally with sperms and eggs, who could tell me, sperms and eggs, are they haploid or are they diploid? So I will say it again, haploid cells carry 23 chromosomes. Haploid cells carry 23 chromosomes and diploid cells carry 46 chromosomes. So sperm and eggs, are they haploid or diploid? Person saying haploid, haploid, haploid. Correct. So haploid cells carry 23 chromosomes. So when a sperm that is haploid joins with an egg that is haploid, it forms a diploid cells. That's correct. So when a haploid and a diploid cell meets, right, it forms a diploid cell. I hope persons are not being left behind. All right. And this will be on YouTube forever. So you could always revise this session again before your exam. All right. So good. So sometimes when we look at mitosis, meiosis, you may hear haploid, diploid, and you may say, what is that? Right? So the mother cell is normally diploid, sorry. When we divide it in for the case of meiosis, we end up with 4 haploid daughter cells. We're going to see the diagram just now. And for the sake of mitosis, after division, you have 2 diploid cells. So the ploidy number is the same. So we're going to see that when we go down into mitosis and meiosis. So let me just switch my document here to the study guide. So I recommend strongly, if you have study guides, read your chapters every day. Read 2 chapters, read 3 chapters of the study guide as a form of revision. All right, so this is I'm going to use the HSB study guide. As I said, the syllabus is the same for that section, so it's okay to use the study guide. And listen, when I did biology, I also did HSB past papers with the same topics because the concepts are sort of similar. So practice is practice. All right, so let me just skip through. All right. So for the sake of mitosis and meiosis, you'll have to know the definitions. What is mitosis? What is meiosis? What happens at the end? And also be able to compare them. So I'm going to kind of list a comparison table for you all to note if you don't have one already. But you have to be able to compare the 2 key terms. All right. So let's talk firstly about mitosis. All right. Let's talk firstly about mitosis. So I wish you all could have seen it bigger, but I will post this. If you all are following me on Facebook or Instagram, I'll try to post these study guides if you all don't have this one. Right? But these are very helpful. So mitosis, I want you all to be interactive. So feel free to drop in the comments what you think mitosis looks like, what processes we use it for, etc. All right. So mitosis is very important. So I'm going to kind of give you the importance as you all tell me what you think the process is or why is it important. All right. So mitosis, we use mitosis every single day. So I decided it's mango season and I'm going to be ambitious. So I'm going to climb a neighbor mango tree. But I didn't see the Jack Spanier nest in the tree. So I decide after I done climb this mango tree, or when I'm on this mango tree and I happen to see it, I decide I'm gonna try to scale along this tree as fast as possible, right? But guess what? That didn't work out in my favor. So all of a sudden, I fall off the tree and I get a big, or we just say a white man. I get a big cut on my leg, right? This is where mitosis is gonna come in. So mitosis is used for repair. I don't think you all have seen my screen in real time, you know. I don't know, I'm not sure. Oh yeah, you all are. Okay, good. So mitosis is used for growth, for repair, right? Mitosis is used for development, right? So we know how we are formed. When an egg and a sperm meet, the nucleus come together to form something called a what? Let me see if you all know. When an egg and a sperm meet, the nucleus come together to form what? It begins with Z. So when an egg and a sperm meet, it comes together to form what? A zygote. Yeah? It comes together to form a zygote. So when an egg and a sperm comes together, it forms a zygote. Right? So this zygote undergoes a series of development. You ever consider that? Like an egg and a sperm fuse, and all of a sudden, later on, a person realizes, boom, you're pregnant, and some months later, a fetus is growing on the inside of that woman, right? So it says to us that some kind of development and division of cells is taking place. Mitosis is responsible for cell division that gives us multiplication and development, right? So with mitosis, this is the key. Remember this. Mitosis produces, the first thing you need to know about mitosis, it produces two cells. We call them daughter cells. So we have one parent cell giving us two daughter cells. Remember that. So one parent cell giving us two daughter cells, right? One thing to also note about these daughter cells is that they are identical. So what's in the mother cell is in the daughter cells, right? What's in the mother cell is in the daughter cell. So they are identical. So the ploidy number, we said ploidy means the amount of chromosomes within the set. So we said that the mother cell is diploid, meaning it has 46 chromosomes, and the daughter cells also have the same 46 chromosomes. If you need me to repeat it, let's repeat that, right? So the mother cell and the daughter cells, they have equivalent amount of chromosomes in the parent and in the offspring. All right? So equivalent in the parent and in the offspring. Same amount. So 46 in the parent, 46 in the offspring. If you're following me, just say yes. If you need me to repeat, say miss repeat. Okay, good. So we have 46 chromosomes in the parent. We also have 46 chromosomes in the daughter cells. And we are saying that they have the same diploid number in the parent, in the offspring, right? And we only have two offsprings being produced in each cycle of mitosis. So two, right? And both of them has 46 chromosomes. All right? So note that. All right? So if you look at this cycle, I really wish I could have zoomed in some more, but I can't. So I hope you all at least seen the outline. All right? Let me go back. Hope you all are at least seeing the outline. We have the mother cell, and we have two daughter cells at the end. Right? So the mother cell, hope you're seeing, oh, you all can't see my mouse. I should have done this on Zoom next time. I'll do it on Zoom, so I could have used my my pencil. All right. So we have the mother cell. So that's if look on the top of the diagram that you see on the screen. The one to the tippy top, the top circle is the mother cell. Right? So the top circle is the mother cell, and the bottom two circles is the daughter cells. So I hope you all are following me there. Right? So who can tell me the acronym that we use to remember the mitosis process? Who can tell me the acronym that we use to remember the mitosis process? All right? What happens in mitosis? There's an acronym that we use. So I know it has something to do with some words like metaphase and anaphase and telophase and cytokinesis. But anybody knows the acronym that we use to remember it? So this is a typical question. Now, you're not needed to go into major depth, but I would have seen in exams before where they ask you to define these phases and label them. Yes, so you have to know. You're lost, you don't know the acronym? Okay, no problem. Anybody else? IP-MAT, good. So IP-MAT is the phase. So the purpose of having a study session, you're gonna learn something, so that's all right. Right? So IP-MAT. What does the I stands for? And I can bring some things to the screen. So IP-MAT. What does the I stand for? So the I stands for interphase. The P stands for prophase. The M stands for metaphase. The A stands for anaphase. And the T stands for telophase. Right? So, Renil, can you help me out with the writing of the spelling of the words in the comments so other persons could grab a hold of them? Right? So the I stands for interphase. The N stands for, the P stands for prophase. The M stands for metaphase. The A stands for anaphase. And the T stands for telophase. And at the end, there is a process called cytokinesis. So I'm going to just run through them quickly. And once you understand it for mitosis, you can apply the same concept across in meiosis. All right. So she's dropping it in the comments. Thank you so much. All right. So take it down here book quickly. So the I stands for interphase. The P stands for prophase. The M stands for metaphase. The A stands for anaphase. And the T stands for telophase. And after telophase, we have something called cytokinesis. So if you're taking notes, take it from in the comments. I'm going to put it on the screen. And well, everybody's on YouTube, so I don't necessarily have to put it on the screen because it's going to be in the comments. Right? If it was Facebook and YouTube, I would have had to put it on the screen. Right? So what happens in interphase? So interphase is like the preparation phase. This is where your cell is literally preparing for the process of this is where your body, your cell, is preparing to go through cell division, right? So this is seen in both mitosis and meiosis, all right? So it's seen in both mitosis and meiosis, right? So this is where your cell, it literally grows and it makes copies of its DNA. So this is the preparation stage. This is where the cell grows and it makes copies of the DNA, right? So the cell gets a little bigger and it makes copies of your DNA, right? That is what happens in that interphase area, all right? That's what happens in interphase. And after interphase, we go on to prophase, right? So after interphase, we go on to prophase. All right? So in prophase, the genetic material that was duplicated, right? It starts to come into its position to start off the process of mitosis, right? In this phase as well, the nucleus disintegrates. What does disintegrate mean? The nucleus starts to break down. All right? So in this phase, the nucleus starts to break down. We are speaking about, hope I'm not losing anybody, but we are speaking about the prophase. And in that phase, the nucleus starts to break down, right? And the cell is saying, okay, time for me to get into the cell division, all right? And then we have the metaphase. So in the metaphase, our chromosomes, they line up in the middle. So remember, meta means middle. So in the metaphase, the chromosomes line up in the middle. If you follow me, just say yes. So in the metaphase, your chromosomes line up in the middle. So remember, M stands for middle. And this is how you remember these things for the examiner. It's for you to start to think about it. So M stands for the middle, right? So the chromosomes line up in the middle. All right, so somebody's saying yes, they understand. Hope other persons are understanding. All right. So M stands for middle. So the chromosomes are lining up in the middle. All right. And the A stands for away. So after they line up in the middle, there are some fibers called spindle fibers that goes and decide, okay, we want to separate the chromosomes into two separate parts because we would have duplicated it so it has enough to share between the two separate cells that we're going to form, but we need to pull the chromosomes away, right? So the spindle fibers hold on to the respective chromosomes and say, here, what time for you to go to? Time for you all to go to your own corner, right? So they pull and they carry the chromosome that belongs to the two daughter cells away, right? So that's what anaphase means. And then the other phase is called telophase. After they go away into their own corner, right? In the telophase section, we see where the DNA comes back together and the nucleus begins to reform around the two separate sets of DNAs now within the two daughter cells, right? But they're still connected. You ever buy a Bobby? Anybody ever buy a Bobby and they have like a double set together, or you buy it open into a chainette and you see the double set being there, right? You ever saw that in the chainette? Like I'm not sure if you have anybody from other Caribbean countries here, but there was in other countries they would say guinea, right? Sometimes you see them together, right? It's because they have not went through that phase called telophase. Sorry, cytokinesis. So they form the two separate sets, but they didn't divide and separate into two separate cells. So they're still conjoined. right? So cytokinesis is the process where cells are cut or split into separate parts, right? So that is necessary. So if you look at the diagram on the screen, you will see the single, but to the bottom, to the top. So you're always going to look at the diagram on the screen. In the top right-hand corner, you will see the cells coming down, and then you see them separate. The separation is due to cytokinesis. All right? So I hope you understand that. So this is the mitosis process. So remember IP-MAT. 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 If this is an exam, I say IP-MAT, then say, okay, the I stands for interphase, the P stands for prophase, the M stands for metaphase, the A stands for anaphase, and the T stands for telophase. And remember, at the end, you have cytokinesis that cuts the cell in half, right? So this is the mitosis process. I believe is that the easiest one to learn in the two, but once you understand this, the other one becomes easy as well, right? So can we move on? Anaphase, no problem. So in the anaphase, this is where the chromosomes move away to their own pole. So remember, the aim of this process is to produce, no problem. The aim of this process is to produce two daughter cells. So in the prophase, no problem. In the prophase, right? Let's start over. In the interphase, the genetic material duplicates, right? So before we had 46 chromosomes, we now have each of them doubling up or copying of itself. So we kind of have like 92, right? So when we have the 92 now, they are now coming together, arranging themselves to start the division process. In the prophase, we would have had the nucleus still existing around this these genetic material or these chromosomes. In the prophase, the nucleus disintegrates or breaks down, right? So the nucleus, it breaks down. So we have no nucleus anymore around the chromosomes, right? That happens in the prophase, and it's getting ready for the rest of division. That's what happens in prophase. Then in the metaphase, the genetic material line up along the middle of the cell. So M for middle, that was happening in metaphase. Then in the anaphase, after it went to the middle, these chromosomes that were duplicated need to now separate in order so that the two daughter cells will have their genetic material. So in the anaphase, we have some fibers called spindle fibers. Look at my fingers and remember them in the exam, right? So you spin the fibers hold on to the genetic material and pull them to their poles, meaning that they pull them separate to go into the two separate daughter cells, right? And so that's what happens in the anaphase, the pulling away of chromosomes into the two separate corners or poles, right? And after that, we're going to witness something called telophase, and that's where within the two separate sets, we have nucleus reforming around the chromosomes, right, of the two daughter cells. And the last step is cytokinesis, where the daughter cells are cut. So therefore, what happens is that the cell wall membrane comes around the genetic material again. So it forms two separate daughter cells. Understand now? And remember, this process is important for mitosis, right? I'm sorry, this process is important for mitosis. And mitosis, sorry, is important for growth, for cell repair. So remember, I follow the mango tree. So my cells need to repair. My cells need to be able to multiply to form that scab over that cut. So my cells need to divide and repair. That happens through mitosis. And remember, mitosis is what is used to turn that zygote into a big fetus. So they ask you for specific examples, you could give them that. Right? The next one is meiosis. So meiosis is slightly different. So I want you to note in your book that mitosis takes on one cycle of division. Mitosis, one cycle of division. Let's go to meiosis quickly. So for meiosis, we have 2 cycles of division. Note that one time. So for meiosis, we have 2 cycles of division. So the cells divide twice. Let's note some important things about meiosis as well. Meiosis starts off with a mother cell whose ploidy number is 2n, meaning it starts off with a mother cell that has 46 chromosomes, or we say that the mother cell is diploid. So the mother cell in meiosis is diploid. Remember we talk about diploid, 46 chromosomes? Good. And the daughter cells within the process of meiosis, right? These daughter cells contains half the chromosome number, right? So the mother cell has 46 chromosomes in meiosis, and the daughter cells have 23 chromosomes. Makes sense, right? Because the sperm and the egg has to have 23 chromosomes anyway, right? Because if the sperm had 46 and the egg has 46, we'd have like 90 something chromosomes, which ain't making no sense, right? So you need to ensure that you have 23 at the end with the daughter cells, right? One more thing. How many daughter cells? I want to see some answers. How many daughter cells we had for meiosis? Mitosis, sorry. How many daughter cells we had for mitosis? We just did mitosis. How many daughter cells we had? 2 or 4? Mitosis, 2. Right? Good. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Good. For mitosis, we're gonna have 4. Sorry, for meiosis, we're gonna have 4 daughter cells. Right? So that's a major difference as well. So for every 1 mother cell gives 4 daughter cells. All right? So this process basically carries out 2 sets of division. In the first division, we produce 2 sets, and then those 2 divide again to give 4, right? So you form the first 2 in cycle 1, and in cycle 2, the 2 that you create to divide again to give 4, all right? And that's meiosis, all right? So note that carefully, all right? And remember the ploidy number is halved, right? So in this one, we have IP-MAT, P-MAT. So that's how we write the acronym. So Renel, I'm pronouncing your name correct. I want you to write the acronym for me for meiosis. IP-MAT, P-MAT. Right? So remember what happens. Right? So there are some nice things that happen in meiosis. Right? So while she writes it, I'm going to tell you like a story. Right? So I have a sister, and we have both the same parents. Right? But guess what? We don't look the same. Why don't we look the same? We don't look the same because of something called crossing over and genetic diversity. So though we have the same parents, our gene makeup is different. All right. And all of this happens in the mitosis, the meiosis process. All right. So the genetic information that is found in the different daughter cells have some diversity. All right. And that is quite important for us to note. It has some diversity. So you and your siblings don't quite all look the same, right? And it's because of concepts and things such as crossing over. All right. So we have things called crossing over, and crossing over is very, very important because with crossing over, we are able to have genetic variation, right? So we have crossing over. What is crossing over? Genes from each of your alleles, they intermix with each other. So before, when you would have had the same genetic makeup, you have a difference taking place. I'm trying to bring my screen full screen. All right. So with meiosis, we have crossing over taking place, and also something called independent assortment. So this is where your genes randomly sort themselves. When we do that alignment in the metaphase region, they independently sort themselves, and in the in prophase, we have crossing over. All right. So we have to note those two things. And I'm just going to move ahead because I realize that we have not even touched all the topics. Right. But I suggest strongly that you go and you look at the differences between mitosis and meiosis. But before we move on, let's take 2 minutes in the comments. Tell me any noticeable difference that we will discuss today concerning mitosis and meiosis. Tell me any noticeable difference that you know between the two processes. So I'm waiting for your answers. Tell me any difference. Well, the diagrams are different. But what is different in the diagram? What is different between the diagrams? Right, so mitosis has 2 daughter cells, while meiosis have 4 daughter cells. Good. Mitosis have 2 daughter cells, while meiosis have 4 daughter cells. What can we say about the genetic number? In mitosis, right, the genetic number is the same. The ploidy number is the same as the parent. So the parent has 46 chromosomes and the daughter cells have 46 chromosomes. While in meiosis, the parent has 46 while the daughter cells have 23. Right? So the diploidy number is halved, or the genetic amount is half between the mother and the child. It makes sense, right? Because the sperm has to have 23, the egg has to have 23. So in the end, you have your 46, right? When they both combine. So that makes sense, right? So you are charged to know the differences. Remember this number of division cycles. Remember, mitosis have 1 division cycle, while meiosis have 2 division cycles. Well, no. Meiosis, well, okay. If you consider that we need to form our sex cells before they could fuse and then divide by mitosis, to, in terms of having the offspring, right? The zygote multiply, then you could think about it that way. But there are 2 separate processes, right? There are 2 separate processes. All right, there are 2 separate processes used for different things, and they'll have to ask you that's in the exam. What is mitosis used for? What is meiosis used for? So let's remember, meiosis is used for the formation of your sex cells, your sperm and your eggs, and mitosis is used for all the other cells. That's how I remember it, right? So your hair growth is mitosis. Repair is mitosis. You get a cut and it has to heal, is mitosis. The formation of new cells in your body, mitosis. Meiosis is only used in the formation of sperm and egg. That's what you have to remember. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about something called variation. So we mentioned variation with meiosis, and We kind of touched on it, but I want us to look at it in depth. So what is variation? I want you all to remain interactive. I know we are discussing, so I expect you all to respond, right? So variation is the differences we see between individuals, right? So we all are different. Doesn't matter if we have the same parents, we are different. Even a twin is sometimes different. And we're going to explain why that is possible, right? So we are not all the same, and that's good. Variation is good, right? Variation is good because if we were all the same, then any disease that affect me will affect you because we're all the same. Because of variation, we can fight off bacteria and diseases differently. We don't all look the same. Imagine you walking on the road and you see somebody who's looking just like you. That would feel kind of weird, right? So variation allows us to have differences that are noticeable, and variation allows us to be susceptible, not to be susceptible to the same diseases and stuff like that, right? So we have two main types of variation. We have genetic variation and environmental variation. So genetic variation speaks to the differences in our genes, right? So my genes is not your genes and your genes are not my genes, right? So genetic variation speaks to the differences between your genetic makeup. That's what genetic variation means. Our genes are all different. Our genetic makeup different. Doesn't matter if you have the same parents, your genetic variation will be different. All right? Right? So that's something. Then we have environmental variation. What is that? This is where we have variation that is triggered by our environment. And when we say environment, we're not only talking about the sun, and the sea. Variation is environmental, mean any factor that is around us. Let's think about this. We can have a twin, and think about it. We can have a twin, and one is in a very hot country, like Trinidad and Tobago, while the other one could be in a very cold country. When you bring them back together after a year, you're going to realize sometimes that the complexion may be different. Why? Let me hear what you all think. Why would their complexion be different? Why would their complexions be different? So you have a twin, and they are in two different countries, one hot, one cold, and one who was in the sun, complexion is different, right? And one that was in the cold, well, a colder place, complexion is lighter because difference in environment. Let's consider another way to talk about environment. The same twin, the one that was in Trinidad and Tobago, was eating a lot of dumpling and provision and stewed chicken and all of that, macaroni pie, lasagna, roast beef, all of that, right? And the one that was in Canada was only eating salad. What will happen? What's supposed to happen? What do you think will happen? The one in Canada only eating salad and smoothie and green juice. And the one down here eating dasheen and oil down and all them things. One will be fatter, one will be skinny, right? And so I want you to know that a diet, we also consider that environment. That's the point I wanted to get across. The physical appearance will be different, right? So one will have more size than the other, right? So I want us to note that because environment also so diet and stuff is considered as your environment, right? Environment also speaks to languages or behavioral patterns. So if you go up in a house that is full of love, a house that is full of nurturing, and you meet somebody who grew up in a house where, there's a whole bunch of cursing and stuff like that, or abuse or something like that, the environmental behavior is going to be different as well. So even with genetics, we look at behavioral patterns as well, right? So sometimes, even in the workplace, you could tell the difference between people who have a calm home and people who grow up in a harsh environment. You just know. You could tell by their personality. So personality is also a thing. We consider environmental variation, right? So these are the noticeable differences that we observe between individuals. So they ask me example, what is variation? Is the noticeable differences that we see between individuals. And then we tell them genetic variation is where the gene structure of an individual is different, while environmental variation is where the environment had an impact on the person's personality and also appearance as well, right? So that's the difference. If you ask me the difference, that's how you tell them the difference. And I want to give you a hint here. In exams, right? And you'll have free to still welcome or invite more persons to come in. So check on your WhatsApp status and stuff like that, right? So basically, I lost my train of thought just now. Oh yeah, when you are giving differences questions, ensure to tell them genetic variation is this, while environmental variation is that. You can't just tell them, like they tell you to tell the difference, and you tell them genetic variation is the differences in our gene structure, full stop. What the rest? What the other side of the argument? What's the other side of the differences? You have to give them the other side. So you can't just say one is expected to have an increased size. So the one that was exposed to more food is expected to have an increased size compared to the one that was exposed to less, which will have a smaller size. So always have to give them the two sides of the argument when they ask you for differences. All right. So when we consider variation as well, we talk about continuous and discontinuous variation, right? So we talk about continuous and discontinuous variation, right? So what is continuous variation? So when we speak about continuous variation, these are variations that are on a scale that is constantly increasing or decreasing, right? So with continuous variation, there isn't any distinct categories, right? And who could tell me an example of continuous variation? So there's no distinct category, but it is a range of values that can make up this variation. Who could tell me an example, right? So we're trying to look between all of us, and we're saying there's differences that are noticeable on what about here? You say here, what about it? Right? So we have differences, right? But it's a scale that is like a range that is constantly changing, right? So here, what? Height, good. So height, here, length. I would say here, length, not color. Do you know why? Colors are distinct. So either here is on black, brown, blue, green. Those are distinct categories, right? But height is constantly changing. So if I measure you all, somebody might be 64.4 centimeters. Sorry, 164.4 centimeters. Somebody might be 158.2 centimeters. Is a range of values that makes up the differences. So height, weight, right? These are examples of continuous variation. Foot size, good. So even though we have size 4, size 5, people's feet are not the same size. It's a range, right? If you were supposed to take everybody's foot and measure it today, it's going to be different, all right? So ensure to look at it, okay? So when we talk about discontinuous variation, we speak about variation that falls into different categories, right? So variation that falls into different categories. So we have categories such as blood type. Anybody here knows their blood type? So blood types are specific, right? Eye color. So they can bring a table and they could put the variation types and ask you to write what type of variation is each category. You have to be able to figure that out. So eye color, yeah, eye color, blood type. These are all discontinuous variation. Eye color, blood type. What else? Your ability to roll your tongue. How many persons here can roll your tongue? Say yes or no in the comments. I cannot, sorry. Can you roll your tongue? Meaning that put your tongue into a kind of like a U shape. Can you roll your tongue? Yes, yes. I can't roll my tongue to save my life. Nah. Somebody say nah, somebody say yeah, yeah. I cannot. Right? So that's a specific category. Right? Tishana, weight is continuous, right? Weight doesn't fall into categories. So it's continuous. Discontinuous is, oh, sorry. Discontinuous is specific categories that it must fall into. All right, sorry for that disruption. All right, so weight is specific categories that it must fall into. Right? How do you know your blood type? Well, I happen to go to the doctor, and the doctor told me, so most time when you do a blood test, you can ask them to know your blood type. And it's very good to know your blood type, right? Because sometimes, God forbid, things has happened and we need blood, or we need to give blood. And when we give persons blood, we are able to know what type of blood we have, right? So I think in section B, there's a whole note on blood types that you should have done, right? But blood types are very important to know. So my blood type is B positive, right? So a person can have A blood, B blood, or O blood, right? Positive or negative, right? So either you A positive, B positive, A positive, A negative, B positive, B negative, or O, right? That's the blood types. And AB, AB, right? So those are the blood types. We hope yours is O. So people who are O positive, they can give blood to anybody, but they cannot receive blood from everybody. So they can give blood. They are called universal donors. They can give blood to any and everybody, but they cannot receive blood from any and everybody. So that's the funny thing, because when they have to get blood, it's harder to get blood because they cannot receive from anybody. But persons who have O blood could give to every and anybody. Right? So I have B blood. So many times you have blood similar to one of your parents. Right? So we tend to get some blood types from our parents, right? So I have my father's blood type. Right? So that's basically that. So remember, discontinuous variation is where you fall into categories. How many persons have the widow peak? So the widow's peak is that peak in the front of the hairline here. No matter if it's a male and you just cut it off, it grows back. So do you all have the widow's peak? Yes or no? That's the peak at the front of your hairline there. I have it. Some people hairline straight, so straight across. And while some persons have the peak. Do you have the peak? No, no peak. I have the peak. It's right there. Feel it. If you never studied it before, feel it, feel it. See if you have it. The peak of here to the front here is called that, you call that the widow's peak. People say no. We were trying to say, Mrs. an alien. Oh, I don't have it. Come on, people, answer. Do you have the widow's peak? At the front of your hairline there? It's only me, I don't have it. Yes, okay, I'm not the only one. Thank you, Jesus. All right, good. So I'm not the only one with the widow speak. All right, so that's this thing at the front, and there are so many other characteristics that are. Let's try this last one. I'm not sure if you all are holding your phone in your hand, but if not, I want you to just take your hand palm, look at me, and put them together naturally. Don't think about it, and then tell me which one is on top. Which thumb finger is on top? Your left thumb finger or your right thumb finger? Take your hands, shake it out, put it together randomly, clasp it, and tell me which finger is above, your left or your right. Right, right, right. Anybody have left? Right. Don't think about it, you know. Some people literally trying to put it right over the left. Somebody say left on top. Feel weird. It even what you mean? No, you're putting your two fingers together like this. You're closing your hands together. One must be on top. Like this. One must be on top of the other. Right? So you're putting it one over the other like this. Left, 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 right. So I am right. Right? So this is another trait, right? I want you to look at it like this. You fall into either categories, is either your left or your right. So I hope you're understanding what is discontinuous variation. Right? You have to fall into categories. Remember that word, categories. Right? Another question they ask in the exam, what type of graphs do you use to represent these two characteristics? So take a note of this. For discontinuous variation, you normally use like a histogram or a bar chart. So that if you're doing a bar chart, you put in 15 persons in the classroom had left, while the next bar will be 10 persons with right over left, right? So it goes in a bar graph. Or you could even use a pie chart. So 50% or 40% had left, while the other percentage had right. So a pie, a histogram, or a bar, right? And for continuous variation, you normally use a bell-shaped curve. Say that again. So for continuous variation, you're using a bell-shaped curve. Look at my fingers. Up, loop, and come down. Bell-shape, curve, curve. Right? I like a line graph, a bell-shaped line graph. Right? So you're going up and down like a line graph. Right? Everybody got that? So they can ask you what is the appropriate graph to use. And you tell them a bell-shaped line graph. All right? So I want to move on from this topic. Everybody clear? Okay, clear. That's right. Clear, 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 clear. If you need me to repeat anything, ask me. Clear, 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 clear. Right. So we're going to speak about inheritance, right, quickly. I wish this could have been bigger, but the next time I do this session, I will do it on I will do it on Zoom so that I can write up on the board and stuff like that. But I can't, so we're just going to have a discussion, right? So for this, you have to learn some terms. We started them before, but you have to be clear, right? So what is the meaning of the word genotype? So I'm going to throw out some meaning, some words, and I want you all to jump in for me in the comments. What is genotype? What is phenotype? So pick one of them and give me the definition. Everybody don't pick genotype. Some people pick phenotype as well, please. So what is the genotype? So this is a study session. I'm not just telling you all the answers. I want you all to dig for some answers as well. What is genotype? What is phenotype? So if I say the genotype of the genes is homozygous dominant and heterozygous dominant, what am I saying? What is the genotype? What we born with? We're born with it, but that's not the definition I'm looking for. Okay, so let's first take the phenotype definition. Let me bring it on the screen. So the phenotype definition is the physical appearance of the gene that shows up in the organism. Right? So the phenotype is the physical expression of the gene that shows up in the organism. Right? So it's a physical manifestation of the gene. So, for example, long hair. Right? So if you have long hair, so I kind of think I have long hair now. Or I could say whatever I want, but Miss Guy thinks she has long hair. Right? Because my hair meeting quite long hair. And I feel as though I have a long hair gene. So physically, you can see this hair, right? Then you can also consider eye color. Physically, if you look in my eyes closely, you're going to realize that my eyes are dark brown. So physically, I can see dark brown, right? So that's the physical expression of the gene, right? But the genotype is the genetic makeup and the arrangement of your alleles, right? Right? So it's the genetic makeup and the arrangement of your alleles. That's your genotype. Is your genetic makeup or the genes that you have, right? That makes up your gene. And as she said correctly, individuals tend to belong to genotypes categories such as homozygous and heterozygous. And we're going to add in there dominant and recessive. Right? So for persons like Miss, what you're talking about, we're going to explain it. Right? So genotype is the genetic makeup of your genes. Right? It is the genetic makeup of your genes. And we basically have different alleles, and we defined alleles earlier as the different complements pair that you have from both parents, right? And your allele makeup determines which gene is expressed. So we're going to look at two words now, homozygous and heterozygous. What is that? When we hear the word homozygous, what comes to mind? When we hear homo, what does the keyword homo stands for? And don't be disrespectful, guys. When we hear homo, what we think about? Two? What does that mean, two? Two what? Two different or two same? Homo. Similar. Right? So when we hear about somebody is homosexual, we are saying that they basically like the same. Let's not mix it up. Homo means same. Homo means same. So if somebody is a homosexual, it means that two men or two women. Homo, same. Right? Now, hetero means different. So if a person say I'm heterosexual, it means male and female. Different. So hetero means different, homo means same. So homozygous speaks to the same allele. When we say same allele, we are speaking about same dominant or same recessive. Same dominant or same recessive. We are saying that we either got the same dominant trait from mother and father, or we got the same dominant trait from, recessive trait from mother and father. Same, right? Hetero means different. Hetero means different. Hetero means different. Hetero means different. So it means that we have one dominant trait and one recessive trait. And somebody say, but so dominant and recessive mean? Well, our genes, I consider the dominant gene like a buoy. Like you have some people in school who feel like them is the boss. Like they run the fifth form block or the fourth form block. Like they feel as though they're running things. Yes, the life will be left up. Right? So with dominant traits, I'm going to bring it together just now as fast as possible. All right. But with dominant traits, those are the ones that are expressed. Those are the ones that show up. Those are the ones that think that they're running things. Right? So, for example, we have eye color. Say, for example, the dominant trait is brown eyes, and the recessive trait or the weaker trait or the less expressed trait or the suppressed trait is blue eyes. Whenever brown eyes is on the scene, brown eyes going to show up like, I am brown eyes. I am here. You have to see me. Right? But when you have recessive traits, those are the little meek ones. The recessive trait only shows up when the dominant trait is absent. You following? So the dominant trait always expresses itself. It always shows up and say, I am here, I am dominant, I am the ruler. But when the dominant trait is not present, the recessive trait has an opportunity to come out and say, hi, I am here. Right? So I hope you are understanding. So whenever there's a dominant trait, it's going to take control. The recessive trait only comes up and shows itself when the dominant trait is absent. Everybody understands that? I feel like I'm losing you all. I know we have been here for a little while, but that's what revision sessions are like. When I was at UE, we used to go revision sessions from 10 p.m. to morning. We're not going to be here until morning, but I'm just saying sacrifice is necessary. Right? So you all can have your snacks, drink your water, eat and thing. There's no problem once you're paying attention. Right? Good. So somebody asked, Miss, is there any way to bring the recessive trait to surface or activate it? The recessive trait will only show up when the dominant one is absent, unless we have something called codominance. You ever heard about codominance? You ever heard about codominance? Codominance is where the two traits show up at the same time. So sometimes you all ever saw like a pink and white flowers, or a red and white flowers, sorry. You ever saw a red and white flowers? Like a red and white flowers, the same flower, but it's red and white. You ever saw that? Or green and white, or whatever colors? Yes? Right, that's codominance. That's where the two genes show up at the same time. That's the only way the recessive and the dominant could show up together with codominance. Sometimes it shows up as a blend. So sometimes it shows up pink. So dominant may be red, recessive may be white, and the heterozygous shows up pink. Right? So those are two other definitions you all need to know. Complete dominance and incomplete dominance. I'm going to give you all a minute to research that for me and drop it in the comments. What is complete dominance? What is incomplete dominance? Let me know. All right? Let me know. What is complete dominance and incomplete dominance? And I'm going to leave up the live so you can go back to it. But ensure to subscribe to the page. Right now, take a minute, subscribe to the channel so that you all can see if I drop any more videos, or you all can remember to come back to the page. So subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. All right? So that we can grow the numbers and you all can see when I go live again, or you'll remember what page to come back to. So follow the subscribe to the channel. Right? Good. So tell me, what is complete dominance and what is incomplete dominance? And I think what I'm gonna do, guys, because it's getting late, I will skip over the genetic cross, and I will have to maybe do some videos on that because it's gonna take a while, and I don't want to keep you all here past long after 7 because I realized I started to lose some of you already, right? So what I will do, everybody here on IG, let me know, yes or no. We on Instagram, yes or no. We on TikTok, we on Instagram. Let me know if you're on any of those pages. If you're on any of those, TikTok or Instagram, let me know. So incomplete dominance is a blending of both alleles in a heterozygous. Right, so you're on both. So I want you all to follow me. So what I will do for you guys, because of time, we will just speak about this, but I will do some crosses. Like I will record me doing some genetic crosses for you as revision, and I will post it in the next week to come. So we could wrap up the session, but you will still have that understanding from those. I'll do some like past paper questions, right? So I could do that in the week and drop it. And you'll be very much prepared for section C once you revise. So with complete and incomplete dominance, right, we have the heterozygous being a mixture between the dominant and the recessive, right? So with complete dominance, I wish I could have shown you all a picture, but with complete dominance, we have the dominant one basically showing up itself over the recessive one. But with incomplete dominance, we have the blending. So we have the pink flowers being formed with incomplete dominance. All right, so we have like pink flowers being formed in the incomplete. But with the complete, the recessive, the dominant, sorry, completely overshadows the recessive, right? With incomplete as with complete dominance, as we said, let me say that again so I'm clear. So with complete dominance, right? The dominant one, hi Jabari, the dominant gene is always ahead, right? It completely suppresses the recessive. With incomplete dominance, we see where there's a blend that takes place between the both. All right? So we have the blending of the both. So we have like a pink flowers being formed in the heterozygous. Everybody understands that? So a pink flower being formed in the heterozygous. Hi, Jabari. So Jabari is one of my SEA students, but he's here for bio knowledge tonight and HSB knowledge. Right, good. Right? So we got that. We got that. We clear on that. We're bringing it together, guys. I know you all getting tired. So we're bringing it together, but I will do the genetic cross videos for you all this week. Right? So for incomplete dominance, we have a blending of the both. So red and white gives you pink. That's incomplete. Complete dominance means that the dominant trait always overpowers the recessive trait. And take this one more definition, co-dominance. So with co-dominance, the both of them show up. Both of them are dominant. So if you have white and you have pink, sorry, white and red, you have the flowers being white and red mixed up together. So the red is seen, the white is seen. That is co-dominance. All right, that's co-dominance. So I want you all to follow me on Facebook. I mean, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And I want you all to do before you forget. Follow me there on Scholars Immaculate Academy on TikTok or on Instagram or on Facebook. I will drop the videos this week. All right, I'll do some sample videos and drop it in terms of the genetic cross, what you should have for your genetic cross. And I may try to do it out of a past paper, right? Okay, so she said I'm following on Instagram. Awesome. All right, so I'll try to drop those things to you all at the start of the week coming. By Wednesday, give me until Wednesday. I'll try to drop those videos for you all. Right? So I think we should be clear there. So learn those definitions because they are necessary for your course. Because many times they will give you a scenario and they will use those terms, co-dominance, incomplete dominance, heterozygous, homozygous. And you have to be able to follow what they are telling you in the exam. They're not going to tell you always how they look, right? So let's just remind ourselves. With dominant, with homozygous dominant, how do we write that? Homozygous dominant, capital, capital, capital. Come on, how do we write homozygous dominant? How do we write that? How do we write that? With two capital letters, how do we write that? Homozygous dominant. Homozygous dominant. So this is correct. Two capital letters. Big B, big B. Big H, big H. This is correct. Now, what Amelia put here is homozygous, heterozygous, dominant. So that's heterozygous dominant. What does that mean? We have one, the big letter stands for dominant, the small letter stands for recessive. But whenever the dominant trait is present, it's going to show up. So dominant is going to show up. So we call this heterozygous dominant. All right? Heterozygous dominant. And take a little side note. In the case of some diseases that are carried on the recessive trait, we will consider heterozygous a carrier. So a person who has a disease, say for example, let's think about a disease. Let's think about a disease in plants, right? So a yellow spot virus, right, in plants, and say the recessive trait, right? Say that the recessive trait is common R, right? So the recessive trait is common R, right? And that is the trait that carries the virus. Now, this person has a normal trait, big R, or this plant, sorry, has a normal trait, big R. So you know what's gonna happen? The plant gonna look normal. But because it has that common R that carries the virus, they are carriers of the virus. Everybody understands that? So the heterozygous normally speaks about the carriers of a virus if it is a virus trait. Right? So there are many persons that are carriers of viruses. And they don't have the virus, but they are carrying a trait. And this can be seen with sickle cell. Right? So there are many persons that are carriers of sickle cell and they don't naturally have it. When they look at their blood cells are not sickled. But when they check their genetics have the trait for sickle cell. So yeah, some people are carriers of the HIV virus and they don't know. And that is why, I love how you said that. That is why young people, please don't just meet somebody and say, Miss, I like him. He does dress nice. He does smell nice. Miss, he has swag, or Miss, she look real good. You know? Miss, I really like that person there. You know, that have a nice personality. Go get a blood test. Because people are carrying viruses that they don't know they're carrying. Right? So before you just look at somebody and say, Miss, she real best. I don't know if this generation will still say things like that. Right? But people are carrying viruses that they don't even express. So when you do something called family planning, I think family planning is under reproduction in section B, right? With family planning, they actually talk about when you're planning your family, you and your spouse supposed to go and do blood tests to know what diseases or conditions that you may have. This is serious thing. You are laughing, you know. This is very serious, right? Sometimes you're just thinking, well, hey boy, she look real good. I want to run in there. Some men just talk like that. But you don't know what you're running in on. Right? And then now you go and you go with somebody else, and the person go with somebody else, and that's how diseases are spread. That's how diseases spread. So be very careful. You want to know what people have, carry them for a blood test. And if they tell you they don't want to go for no blood test, let them go their way. Yeah? So that's a shameless plug that I just put in there. Don't just have sexual intercourse with people just like that. You don't know what they're carrying. They could look real good and be carrying loaded with diseases and viruses. You just don't know. So make sure you know. Prevention is better than cure. Okay? All right. So good. So these are some terminologies that you have to know. All right. So revise these things. Revise these things. So with the genetic cross, let's just look at this quick one on the screen. I hope you all have kind of seen it. You have to know what they're asking you to do. Sometimes in the exam, they may tell you to draw a Punnett square alone. Or they may ask you to do a genetic cross. Or sometimes they may ask you to do a full genetic profile. People, sometimes this question is worth all 5 to 6 to 7 marks. Do not lose these marks. I see students every year losing these basic marks in the cross. Right? So I'm going to do the crosses this week for you all, and I'm going to post it. People, don't let Miss Guy go and do them crosses, and you all ain't even watch it, you know. And you all ain't even share it, you know. Don't let me do that. Right? So we say, okay, but wait, Miss, what if they are carriers and you are a carrier and they have sexual intercourse? Both of them will get it. Well, if somebody's a carrier of a disease and you have sexual intercourse with them, you can receive, remember, right? Your genes code for proteins and the making of whatever the thing is, right? So if they're carrying a trait for a disease and their body is producing those cells associated with that disease, and you go and you have sexual, you can possibly receive it, right? Or even your child has the possibility of getting those gene codes, right? So you have to be careful, yeah? Because carriers now have the potential to produce a child that is full blown in whatever disease it is or condition, right? Okay, later. Thank you for coming. All right, guys. So we're bringing it together. We're bringing it together. Right? So what I will do, I will do some little shorts for genetic engineering. Very easy topic. So I'll do that in a short video, and I will do the genetic courses for you all. Right? So look out for that. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and I will try to drop those for you all by Wednesday. All right. So look out for it. Follow the page. Look out for it. All right. And and if I do short videos, I may compile them and drop them here on YouTube as well. All right. So guys, this is my gift to you all. I want to see you all really do well. All right. So I'm gonna do the genetic courses. I promise you all the genetic courses by the grace of God. All right. I'm gonna do those. All right, so look out for that and practice as much courses as possible with past papers. So your past papers is key, right? And ensure to look over genetic engineering. Promise you, something we talk about tonight and with those videos is going to be on your exam. All right, so what you have to do now, after we did this revision session, you have to now go and do as much past papers, right? You want me to send the study guides as well? Can you all? Now, I don't want you to drop your emails here. Yeah, but I'm going to give you all my contact. Send me a WhatsApp message on my business number and I could send it to you. So I'm going to put the number in the comments. All right. So send me a message and you all could do that. Send me a message on WhatsApp. This is my business number. And I could send you the study guides. So I'm sending you the number now. Right? So I could send it to you. Just message me appropriately. I had a student message me after our last study session, and she just messaged me, Miss Study Guide or Miss Past Paper. I don't do disrespect, right? So address me properly and let me know what you're asking me to send you, and I will send it to you. All right? So it was nice spending the last 2 hours with you all, and I hope that it blesses you. Ensure to follow to see those videos. If you send me a message on WhatsApp, I will also send you the message directly to your WhatsApp when I do the courses for you all. All right. But I hope that this study session encourages you. And I may do a past paper marathon next week. Not sure fully as yet. But once you message me, I will let you know. Those are normally at a very small cost, but it is really effective. All right. So if I'm doing it, I'm going to send it to you that you can show it to your parents. All right. Those students of mine that are here, your sessions, past paper sessions are normally free. All right. But if you're not a part of Scholars and you want to join our past paper session, I will drop that flyer on the page. If you want to join, let your parents know and we can work that out. All right. So have a great rest of the day, guys. Make sure you study. Make sure you put in your best work now. Know that May, June is going to be over and you're going to get back in July, August, and all that time. So sacrifice the time now, stay up late, and do what is necessary for your success. All right? Do not say, well, Miss, I'm tired, I want to sleep. Sleep is a concept. You're going to get sleep, but ensure that you all study and put your best foot forward. Read over these chapters that we went through today. Tomorrow, in your free time, go over the chapters, make yourself familiar with it, do past paper questions on it. That's how you all pass science subjects. All right. So I hope that today's session was a blessing to you. And I hope that you are going to have an awesome time. Sometimes sleep does win the fight, I understand. But the point I'm making is that sometimes you have to give up a little of the sleep. Right? You will get it back at the end. Right? So have a great time, everybody. And it was nice spending this time with you. Who knows? We may pop back on here live to do a part 2. Who knows? All right. So have a good time, everybody. Bye. Remember to send me the message.